Welcome back to the Archive Network. Aurelius here with Malik, curators of the Exploration Archive. We left Christopher Columbus last time at this crisis would affect reputation and rank. Yet the fundamental truth remained. Continents had been encountered and charted, forcing Europe to reckon with a hemisphere of resources and peoples it had never envisioned before. Today we pick up where we left off. Columbus's second series of voyages truly changed everything. No longer were they just brief landfalls. He was now focused on establishing a permanent presence in the New World. With a larger fleet and over 1,000 colonists, hope surged among the crew and investors. But let's be honest. This wasn't just about exploration. It was as much an experiment in social engineering. He was trying to figure out how to build a new society, and that was no small task.
That hope was misplaced, though. The colonists faced an alien environment, not just a new land to settle. They struggled with unfamiliar crops that wouldn't grow, and relentless insects that swarmed their tents at night. Every day felt like an uphill battle, and it wore them down. What was supposed to be a fresh start quickly turned into a harsh welcome that dampened their spirits. Many of them were too far from home, feeling lost in this daunting new world.
The climate was unforgiving. Sweet rains, which we might welcome elsewhere, turned the soil into a muddy trap here. Our tools, crafted for the drier European fields, warped under the relentless humidity. Each failed harvest struck another blow to our morale, reminding us just how precarious our situation really is. We hoped for abundance, but instead faced disappointment. With every season that passed, it became clearer. Survival in this land was an uphill battle, and we were fighting against nature itself.
And this is where governance turned brutal. Bureaucratic demands for tribute weren't just red tape. They disrupted the very social structures that had held communities together for generations. The colonists faced challenges from the land, but they were also tearing apart the lives of indigenous families. These weren't just abstract concepts. They were real people losing their homes and traditions. This wasn't merely exploration. It was a calculated power grab that left deep scars.
Desperation led to resource seizures, and soon tensions escalated. We saw cooperation crumble like a house of cards. Uprisings erupted, transforming what was once a promising venture into utter chaos. It's a stark reminder of a fundamental truth. When trust erodes, so does progress. We can't ignore how quickly ambition can spiral into conflict. History shows us that without trust, even the strongest alliances can fall apart, leaving only discord in their wake.
You're framing this as an inevitable decline, Aurelius. But let's be clear. It was a choice, driven by desperation and fear. The colonists could have reached out for cooperation instead of diving headfirst into conflict. Their actions weren't just responses to circumstances. They actively shaped their fate. Think of the families caught in the crossfire, the lives altered forever. It's crucial we remember that behind every decision, there are real people facing unimaginable challenges.
You're not wrong about the choices they made. But we have to recognize the larger forces at play that shaped this environment. The colonial mindset was suffocating. It boxed them in, severely limiting their options. Columbus's vision, once celebrated, became a heavy burden. It's as if the weight of his ambitions was crushing the very people meant to benefit from them. History teaches us that such grand dreams can often lead to unforeseen consequences.
And while they struggled against the challenges of survival, disease spread like wildfire. European illnesses swept through indigenous communities, decimating populations who had no immunity to these new threats. But let's not forget, the colonists weren't just innocent bystanders. They played a role in this devastation. Both sides found themselves caught in a heartbreaking web of mutual destruction, where the human cost was immense. Lives were lost, cultures were shattered, and the scars of that time still linger today.
This mutual toll was significant, no doubt. Yet, the colonists pressed on, driven by an insatiable desire for expansion. Their journeys took them to broader river systems, each bend revealing new possibilities. It was as if the very landscape whispered of vast lands just beyond their reach. Hope flickered once more, a small flame amid the shadows of adversity. We can't underestimate the tenacity of those settlers. They dared to dream even when the odds were stacked against them.
But this hope was built on a shaky foundation. The rivers weren't just resources. They were pathways to the unknown, filled with potential dangers lurking just out of sight. The colonists were chasing dreams of prosperity and freedom, but they often turned a blind eye to the consequences of their actions. They didn't fully grasp how their choices could impact not just their own futures, but the lives of those who already called this land home.
Meanwhile, back in Europe, discontent brewed like a storm on the horizon. Complaints reached the crown faster than wildfire, prompting a royal inspector to arrive and sift through the chaos. Authority was now under scrutiny, and those who once wielded power found themselves vulnerable to judgment and scrutiny. The core of governance was fraying. People began to question everything they'd accepted without a second thought. In the shadows of power, whispers of rebellion stirred, signaling that change was on the wind.
That scrutiny quickly spiraled into chaos. Mutinies erupted, and desertions swept through the colonies like wildfire. The very system Columbus envisioned began to unravel before his eyes. For the people caught in this turmoil, survival wasn't just about holding on to power. It became essential to forge new alliances, to find common ground with those they once viewed as enemies. Trust was scarce, but it was the only lifeline that could help them navigate this uncertain world.
Columbus returned, not as a triumphant leader, but as a man grappling with the weight of his own ambitions. The limits of his authority were laid bare for all to see, and this crisis would surely ripple through his reputation and rank. Yet, amidst the turmoil, we must remember the fundamental truth that remains. Continents had been encountered and charted, forever altering the course of history. The empire's appetite for exploration was insatiable, and this would only fan the flames of future endeavors.
That's where we leave it this time. Christopher Columbus continues, the story isn't finished yet. Find the full series on the Exploration Archive, part of the Archive Network. We'll be back with the next chapter.